So welcome to Microcurrent with me. And today we are just going to use the lift. I think some days, we can do hour long, and then some days we just have it sitting at the side of our sink, and we just want like a quick kind of lift type of microcurrent treatment that we feel is effective, is going to make us look good, not so like we just woke up out of bed. So we're going to start with the Anma. And I want to just start in the scalp along this temple area. And I love starting in the temple area because that houses so much of the tension. We just don't give credit to the tension in the temples and in the jawline. So as we start progressing more and more, after 5 minutes after 9, I'm probably not going to be letting people in because it throws me off. So if you're joining the Microcurrent with me challenge, please try to make the time in the class, because every time I have to stop to admit you in, it throws a lot of things off. So just know that you'll get the video, but if you're more than 5, or maybe we'll extend it to 10 minutes late, you probably won't get in. So just kind of warm up the tissue on the face. One thing we're going to try with this new challenge is to have the ability to try and work out before you come to the challenge. And if that just means 5 minutes on a rebounder, or 5 minutes jump roping, or it doesn't have to be an elaborate boot camp or some class that you go to, but we really want to increase the circulation as you before we do microcurrent. It just kind of makes it so you can really get the best effects. See here, I'm on a new computer and I just don't know how to add people into the room. So it's just going to have to stay this way. So take the handle of the Anma and really kind of just stretch out this tissue. And I'm going to show you how to do this with the lift as well. But what we're doing is I've probably got the Anma on like a level 3. And I'm just kind of creating space. I always like to just think of creating space for the fluid, creating space for everything to come in. Welcome, Margaret. I just was kind of saying, in the future, we are not allowing people in too late. So try to get in on time, because this way we don't have to repeat things, but the videos are always available after class. So we're just kind of keep spreading the tissue. And when we release all of this fascia, not only are we hydrating the tissue, but we're allowing free lymphatic flow. And that free lymphatic flow is what takes the puffiness away. And as we get older, we become more sensitive to foods. More and more people might start to develop gluten allergies where they weren't at one time, with gluten. And the face is a wonderful indicator of things that we're sensitive to, because the face is something that we look at daily. We look in the mirror and we acknowledge changes in the tissue, and we see differences in pictures. And a lot of times we just mark this down to, oh, I'm getting old, or, oh, I just look like shit today. But many times it can also be little signals. It can be signals underneath the eyes. If you're waking up constantly with bags under your eyes, there could be something going on with your bladder and your kidneys. It might be time to start doing a cleanse, or looking at the foods correlating with the changes in your body. I hold a lot of like puffiness in my cheeks. I can always tell I'm not eating well when it becomes really disproportionate to my top and bottom. So, this is a great time to really try kind of moving that fluid through and paying attention to your diet. if any of you guys saw, a bunch of girlfriends and I did a cleanse at a really cute place in Desert Hot Springs. It was just all hot springs. And, the first day is always the hardest, but we had 10 of us. So we kind of motivated each one along, and we tried to keep everyone excited about, only drinking celery juice and taking green spirulina tablets when we're all kind of craving wine and nachos. But we kept going forward. And I'm telling you, by the fourth day, I felt like I looked like in my 30s. And that's when I really realized, our diet plays as big a part or bigger into our skincare regimen. We have clients come to us all the time and they're like, oh, what skin tool should I buy? And what product should I get? And I'm not saying there are some products on the market today that blow my mind because of new technologies and delivery systems. But in order for the cells to really make this product work, your cells have to be healthy, and we have to be feeding the cells. And how do we feed the cells? Well, we feed them through antioxidants, and we feed them through diet, and we feed them through, really efficient kidneys and intestines, because this is and a colon, this is what's filtering out all the garbage. And that's what's allowing our skin to really shine. So I am going to throw in, not that I'm a nutritionist, in this next challenge, a couple ideas that you can kind of research and kind of take on to your own, or take it to your own naturopath or dietitian. But we really want to start kind of combining all areas. We want to combine, our perspective of what we see when we look in the mirror. What lens are we looking through? And, that's something a little bit more. We're going to get into the beauty personalities and beauty critics that live within us. And we're going to go into, am I preparing my system to utilize all of these products the best that they can? And that's through, where are our antioxidants? Where is our nutrition? And then, how many beauty tools do we really need? And I know that's coming from a woman that's, constantly talking about the Anma and the lift. But in reality, how much is too much? Because I've been on YouTube and I see everybody pushing something, and your clients are going to get to the point that they're taking a second out on their house because they're seeking this desperation of looking younger. And maybe it's time that some of us stand up and say, okay, this tool is the same as this tool is the same as this tool. It's whichever one you're drawn to, but all three do the exact same thing. This microneedling is the same as this microneedling is the same as this microneedling. Again, what are you drawn to? Some people feel if they spend $8,000 on a machine, it's going to be better than the $4,000 machine. And in some cases, it might be right. But in many cases, we're just regurgitating a name and a technology back from the 70s. So, in this new microcurrent challenge, where I do talk always a lot about microcurrent, I'm going to challenge you also to think outside the box, how to help your clients. And if you're a consumer on this, you're getting an education that I give the top tier estheticians. And it will help you maybe decipher and alter some of your choices into kind of this illusionary world of getting older. All right, so that's my little soapbox rant. Let's go ahead. Today we are working with the lift. So before I got on, I went ahead and I forced myself. I have been so lazy since November. In November, I just got depressed, a weird depression. Something happened in my life. It threw me for a loop like nothing has ever thrown me. I didn't want to work out. I didn't even want to get out of bed. But working out makes you feel better. So I think we have to realize that it happens to the most magnetic and inspirational people. We sometimes fall. and it's hard. So today I worked out and to get the circulation, and I kind of challenge you guys to do that. I want you to kind of jump on a jump rope or jump on a rebounder or do something that makes you feel good. If you have any type of ultrasonic cleanser, let's say you just don't feel like working out, any type of ultrasonic cleanser, anything that just kind of makes your skin alive. Again, that's circulation. And I challenge you to do that before you come to the microcurrent table. I'm going to start with the lift. This is going to be the new machine. I meet with Tony again on Friday. We are making this stronger than the Pico toner, and it has 4 other programs that are not on the Pico toner. So it is going to be different. It is really only developed for those using this for the facial contouring. We added more energy because when we do the facial contouring, I ground myself and I ground the client. And we need more power in order to do that. So this should be on the market in April. We're super excited about that. I'm going to start with program 2 because it's a probe. The lift, you have to use conductive gel. Trust me, when I'm using it, I think about little sponge feet to put around the probes. Like, is there any way I can eliminate having to use the gel? But my favorite gel is the Neogenesis. It's clean. A lot of times I kind of will cocktail water-based products in it. I'll kind of put the products on, and then every now and then I like to cocktail it. So I feel like I'm getting even more penetration of product in. So I'm going to cover my skin. I'm using program 2, and I'm going to start out just like I would if I were using the Anma. So if I'm just going to kind of flex my wrist, and you can kind of see right now, I am just going up and down. And I'm starting with this neck. And so as I'm doing this, I'm just loosening up. I want you to have the visual that we're loosening up just the tissue. And I'm even going to take it further down into the décolleté. And we're just going to kind of loosen up. Feel that. You can feel the current. A lot of questions I get is, what do I use? Like what I typically feel the current around 50 or 60. But someone like Lana, she might feel it less because she has a more bony structure. Somebody like Amy may need more, up to 100. And Margaret, you may need it a little bit stronger because it's really going to be dependent upon A, your hydration, B, the density of the tissue, because remember, this is an impedance. So when we think of strength, I don't want you to go, oh, I can't have it over 100 because that would not over 100 because you can't, but I can't have it over 90 because that would be wrong. We're really looking at how does the tissue respond when the probe is on the skin. So I look for a little bit of flushing of the tissue. What's on your décolleté, you may have to adjust when you get to the neck. You know, all the areas are different. For you estheticians that microneedle, you know, we don't microneedle the same depth in every location, right? The forehead is always going to be like a 0.5 or a 0.6. The neck, you can go a little bit deeper, sometimes even a 1.5 or 2. It depends on the jawline. If they have a heavy jawline, then we see that we can go deeper, you know, dependent upon the resistance. I want you to think of microcurrent the same way. It really depends what we're aiming for and what we're doing. And microcurrent, a lot of times we think about increasing the circulation of the tissue or the tone of the muscle. So in program 2, we're really working on circulation of tissue. And so as we kind of do these flowy movements, we're just kind of waking up the walls of the cells. One of the best analogies I heard right in the very beginning of my microcurrent, when I was asking about why do we do this, and my instructor said, well, let's just say you were going into an old house and you wanted to paint. Would you just throw that fresh coat of paint on the walls, or would you wash the walls first? So when we're doing this type of kind of waking up of the tissue, we're kind of washing the walls. We're going in, we're boosting that current, we're boosting the cellular flow. And by doing that, we're bringing oxygen to all of the cells. So this isn't a waste of time. Think of it as feeding the cells. And if this is all you can do one day when you wake up, it's all you can do, you're doing something. You're doing something because microcirculation depletes as we get older. And this, along with a little nitric oxide tablet, any type of circulation, assistance, is going to do wonders for your skin. Probably one of the biggest things we all get as clients walk into our studios is, and I take this and I just dip it in water. So I just kind of dip it instead of even spraying. That's how lazy I am. I have to dip it, which again, I'm telling you, I probably will have little hats for these electrodes before you know it. Send that off. Anyway, back to clients come into the studio and their number one chief complaint besides pigmentation, which could be lipofuscins, is the dullness of their skin, right? And what do they want to do? Absolutely. They want to peel. They want to peel, or they want an enzyme. Now, if you've kind of been schooled by Florence Hill, you kind of know that we want to protect the barrier at all costs, because that's our, protectant against the environment. So a peel isn't for everybody, but microcurrent is. And so if you just do this on their skin, it not only feels fantastic, it boosts the skin without disrupting the integrity of the skin barrier. It increases in the natural homeostasis of the skin and lymphatic flow. So just by going over with the microcurrent, you can start to see this morning when I kind of got, my head was that, I call it top heavy. It was just, but now just by moving the lymph, we start to see a change in the skin. So let's just do this for about 5 more minutes. One of my favorites, really my 4 favorite electrodes are these, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, right now, the positive and negative go parallel on here. So if we hold it this way, we've got positive and negative at the top, positive and negative at the bottom. So we can kind of hold and go this way. And now we're kind of sandwiching the zygomatics, and then we're moving down to the buccinator and the rhizosaurus. And now let's go on that jawline. Let's go back up. And back to that zygomatic. And you can go right over. Look how it just gets that orbicularis oculi right in there. And then the tension of the corrugator coming up to that corrugator frontalis connection. We're just creating just a nice, and you can really feel it along that corrugator procerius ridge where all of that tension goes. And now we're going to go into the frontalis, up to the crown of the head. And now we're going to take the 4 bottom electrodes and we're just going to swoosh all the way down. Swoosh all the way down. Swoosh all the way down. And now we're going to go over the eyes, swishing to the side and down, swishing to the side and down. Now to the midface and down, midface and down. And now to the buccinator, Rhesus, all the way out and down. And now let's go to the jawline and down, all the way out and down. Now let's go to the other side, kind of taking my favorite 4, kind of starting here, just kind of going all the way. And again, we're not really like working on lifting. So this isn't a kind of something you have to worry about to insert to origin or any type of Golgi tendon. All we're doing is sending a little bit of love and circulation, and that increases the hydration of the tissue. When we increase the hydration of the tissue, we increase the conductivity of the skin, the receptibility of the skin, and ultimately that affects our results of microcurrent. We're going out. And now to the jawline. Going out. And let's take it back up. Can go for the lips. This is great for the lip area, but we're going to work lips and eyes a little bit more separately later. But right now we're just kind of waking up. You may feel your sinuses drain a little bit and coming up in that eye area. I love this one. Hopefully you've kind of found a happy place with the strength of your current, that you're not having to rapidly change it. Coming up under this corrugator arch. Can kind of feel the tension in that brow area. And coming up. Right into the crown of the head. And go ahead, if you've got the water, kind of dip it, because what we're going to do now is going to hold that hairline back and we're going right into the scalp, right into that temple area, kind of lifting. So one of the questions that was just asked is, do I have a specific nitric oxide? I really don't, but I stay with brands I trust. And I know Pure is a good brand. So there's a nitric oxide with Pure. There are, I would ask again, I know most of you have like good naturopaths or even chiropractors will know a fairly decent one. Who, when I have questions too like that, who I go to is I go to Dave Ashbury's site. He is with Bulletproof. I really trust his research of what he does. Also, if you guys have LED, did you know LED increases nitric oxide in the body? That in some cases, like LightStim has a light bed that increases the nitric oxide that takes people off of blood pressure medication.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. So we're just kind of going into that scalp area, kind of going back. This is great after you shampoo your head too. I have to pick it up because sometimes I feel like my hair gets tangled in there. But this is just a great way to kind of continue into that scalp area. And lastly, with this warm up, we're going to hit the back trapezius and some of the occipital. So go ahead, if you don't have gel back there, get some gel or dip your probe in water. But let's just kind of warm up that trap area. Tilting your head, kind of helping all of that lymphatic flow. And like we did in last Monday, how I held this, hold our head back. Now, I got this like bed in my clinic that it's more of a massage bed. And so the head lays, but it also drops down so I can really stretch their neck. But wow, you can do this on your beds with your clients by having them inch up to kind of where the edge of the bed is and lean their head back. And so while it's leaned back, you can really get the muscles in this hyoid area. You'll be really surprised how this increases the V shape of the face because we're releasing a lot of the tension that pulls this lower face down. So go ahead, tilt your head back. You can do this just with the Anma too. It doesn't just mean this works with the lift. We're just today using the lift a little bit more like the Anma in this warm-up section. So you get the benefit of the Anma releasing fascia and hydrating tissue, but we get the microcurrent with it. They've done plenty of studies with microcurrent and increase of lymphatic drainage. And it was done in Taiwan at one of the medical universities. And they found consistently combining microcurrent with lymphatic massage increased it by 48% lymphatic flow. So you're just kind of going to the other side of the trapezius into that area. And remember, while we're doing this, we just get the benefit of the hydrogen going through the cells of the tissue, the keratinocyte, charging that cell, forcing a calcium-potassium exchange. And for those a little bit more sophisticated in chemistry or cellular biology, you understand what that means for the health of the cell. It's basically like the cell's able to take out the trash. So when we have an efficient sodium-potassium exchange, it increases the calcium in the cell, which reduces inflammation. And that's why we see such a great change in rosacea type skin when we use microcurrent. So I'm going to go ahead now and we're going to put this into a lifting program. So go ahead and kind of take your unit, going down, putting it on program 1, increasing. And when we do lifting, we're going to hold a little bit longer. And we lift in a way that makes sense that the muscles would tone and lift. But we're going to first go over kind of generically. So I'm putting this on. And I never like to tighten the neck muscles. I'm not a fan of tightening neck muscles. So we never try to shorten the neck muscles. Always strive for lengthening neck muscles. So how do we do that while sending a bit of microcurrent love to the muscle to tone the muscle? So I always like to kind of anchor down, and I'm just going to hold. So right now, the current is going vertically between the muscles. Okay, you can see the positive and the negative. It doesn't matter if you had the positive or negative on top. Many machines out there oscillate, so it doesn't matter, but we're just kind of going up really slow. So let's start out at the back part of that area. We're just gonna, I love to anchor, and then I'm gonna move up slow. If you had a metronome, it would be like a whole count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And as you're going up, I want you to think you're a plastic surgeon, or think like a plastic surgeon, and lock back where you would be pulling that neck all the way back up, back up. And some of the microneedling, one of the machines I have, we literally go back up into that scalp area to tighten. So I'm right in that occipital. Let's do that again. Going up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and up. And now let's go ahead and kind of come to the center. So each time we move, we're moving about the space of 3 of the electrodes overlapping. You can always overlap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, holding. We're right, I'm not quite on the cusp of that jawbone. I'm right underneath. And let's go ahead and do that again. Up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and hold. Now, while you're holding, now you're anchoring down at this collarbone, right? We're holding underneath the jaw, and to accentuate the stretch, tilt your head back. And if your lower hand, try lowering it down towards the breastbone. Feel that elongated stretch. And now we're going to come up kind of right in the center. If you're using the Neurotrus machines, they are cleared. If you're not, you're going to have to check with your manufacturer if going over the thyroid is okay. And we're going to go up. 2, 3. Now the necks are funny. Keep moving while I'm talking. I want you, as we're traveling up the neck, relax those facial jaws, or the jaw muscle, the eye muscles. Everything's connected, ladies. Holding it underneath, we're holding. Feel that current, and now tilt the head back. You're gonna feel the pull down on your décolleté where your hand is. Feel the stretch, elongate that whole area. Stretching and relaxing. Okay, and coming, we're gonna do this again. Kind of starting right down and going up. So I kind of mentioned earlier the power of working out. And if you go back and look at my videos before November to after November, when I stopped working out, the changes in my face. And a lot of it was just lymph and vitality we get from exercising our body. And it's a real difference. And so again, in our industry, we're so fixated on telling everybody they need another vitamin A cream, they need another vitamin C cream, they need all of this, that all of a sudden, the clients don't take their whole health into consideration. And there is something to a 360-degree approach to getting older. And we have to be aware of that in our profession. We can't keep telling people to keep buying things. We have to kind of nurture and help them in an area that might just be having them take a walk. Okay, we're going to go all the way back. And lifting all the way back. And then let's just jump to the other side. Okay, take some water. I think the one thing I love about the Neogenesis is whatever it is, and I have no clue, I should probably ask, it always kind of rehydrates itself. So I never feel like I have to add more gel. Just when I add water, I get the, you can see my current's too high. And that'll happen. Sometimes one side responds differently, and the side of the heart sometimes responds more stronger. So we're going to come up, but I don't know, back to the gel, I feel like I don't have to add more gel. I always just have to add water, and I continue the glide going up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and to the side. Stretching, utilizing the current in physical therapy, they found that microcurrent was 2 times as effective when the person kind of engaged in the stretch with the current. And we're going to do that again. Up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Going up to that occipital as if we're doing our own neck lift, holding, and then tilting the head. That's good. And release. And anchor down here. Going up, doing kind of like an overlap. I'm really only working with the 3 electrodes on my neck. If you have a wider neck, you may be able to get all 4. Doesn't mean that you don't use it. Just if you're only using 3, it's okay. You're just getting the benefit of a stronger current through 3 electrodes versus the current being amortized between 4 or 6. Going up right underneath that jawbone, holding and stretching. Letting my bottom hand pull down that décolleté. So it's very similar as when we have gloves on. Gloves we're moving, and we have the ability of the current down on the décolleté, but you still get a phenomenal result using the lift this way. So kind of going up to that center of the neck and traveling, and I'm going to place right underneath that collarbone, traveling up. So I love to always kind of stretch the tissue below the collarbone because of the lymphatics. And we can release again any type of dehydrated, tight tissue. We're always benefiting. Going all the way up, underneath that jawline, holding. Letting it pull down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And hold till it feels good. If you're practicing this without me and I'm not here, and you really like that movement and it feels good, listen to the response of the body. The body's wisdom speaks volumes over mine. So if your body says, you know what, I love this position, hold it for a little bit, engage in it, and just kind of take your time really feeling how good it is, going all the way up. And the last time to the center, going all the way up that area to the bands. Think of lengthening as you're traveling up slowly. Relax the muscles behind the eyes, relax the muscles in the jaw, relax the muscles in the scalp, going all the way up under the chin, holding, and then extenuating back. Now we're going to hit the mid face. But take a look at yourself. Look at the difference just in what we did in your face. And take a moment and key into what feels different. Does your jaw hang differently? The backs of your neck? Can you extenuate? You know, as we get tense and tight all the time, this is a fun exercise. I started to think about like what are feminine and masculine energies. And while you're doing this, when you start thinking of more of your feminine energy, thinking about just being a woman, I don't know, dancing in the meadow, wherever your feminine comes out. Do you notice how your facial muscles just relax? It's as though you're leaning back into your being a woman. So when you're doing this, I want you to just kind of lean back and let your muscles just fall. Don't be the aggressive woman that we've learned to become in this man's world, but kind of go back to letting your face just fall. We have so many responsibilities between sick children, husbands, businesses. Everybody's got a challenge. And we learn to address these through taking care of things. But right now, when you're taking this time for you, key into you. Let that all just fall, that whole facade of being okay, and let the muscles just relax and let the current kind of go through all of it. So we're not fighting the current so much. When we're constantly thinking like, I need to go to the dry cleaner, I need to call the attorney, I need to follow up on this doctor's appointment, unconsciously, we're registering so much tension on our face. So during this amount of time, I just want you to relax into just being. And we're going to just kind of go up. And we're going to do that little airplane move, my favorite one. It's kind of like where we're holding and then we're swishing. We're holding and we're swishing. Now we're not paying close attention to what muscles we're working right now, okay? We're just worrying, we've got the program geared on doing muscles, right? So when I say that, program 1 is calibrated to navigate the impedance of the skin and go down and work the muscles. So that's what it's doing. We're holding, we're swishing. We're holding, we're swishing. I'm going to do that 3 more times. 1, 2, and last one. And now we're going to go right up to the zygomatics. We're going to sandwich the zygomatic major and minor, and we're just holding. And now this is kind of like the tilt and glide, right? And I know I just make up this shit as I go. I'm not making up the movements, but I'm saying the name. But it does. It's like we're here, we're going to tilt, and we're going to slide. It's just pretty as basic as it goes. Hold, tilt, slide. Hold, tilt, slide. Now you can choose to use 2 or 4 electrodes as you're doing this. I'm using basically 3 because that's what works on my face. However, if you have a broader face, you probably can utilize all the 4 electrodes. Now, when I tilt, a lot of times I'm tilting on 2 acupressure points and I'm only using the 2. But when I slide, I can come down and do the 4 like we did earlier on program 2. And I'm sliding. And now I'm sandwiching a current, a positive and negative, between the 2 muscles, the zygomatic major and minor. And go all the way out to that temple area. And while you're in that temple area, I want you to lift up back there. That's great, Uma. You did a great, I saw you go right in there. Now we're going to do that. We're just going to kind of drag these 4 all the way out to the ear. So we're still working on those 4 and then lift. Now we're going to take the eye area. Same idea, kind of sandwiching the orbicularis oculi. And that's a muscle that closes all the way around. So it's a sphincter muscle. So now we're kind of opening this all up in this area. And we're letting that current, so while the current is laid at these 4 corners with the 4 probes, the current is actually circulating in here. And we're not having to do anything to tone this muscle. The current does it itself. So I don't want you to think like, oh, I have to be doing something like, you could try squeezing around it, but it's not necessary because the current is programmed to tone this muscle and it's doing it because of all 4 points where it is. Now we're going to come out to the outside and you can see how perfectly we're hitting 2 acupressure points on the outside. We've got it along the scalp. We're kind of holding, and then we're going to drag all the way back into that temporalis muscle. And again, we're lifting. Now, I always like to lift the scalp, even in massages, even when you take the facial contouring class. One of the last movements we do is to lift that scalp because everything is programming our face to fall through the levitator when we lift groceries up, when we lift children up. This contracts the muscle. This pulls all of the fascia down. So what we're doing is we're just really trying to lift back up. So let's go ahead, going to the corners of those eyes. And we're holding. And your power should be enough that you feel a flutter, but not a contraction. Just feels good. Now dragging it out all the way to that temple area. And into the scalp area. And while you're in the scalp, you're just lifting up. For fun, just to show you the relationship, while you're here in this temple area, I want you to open your mouth. Can you feel that correlation between the masseter and the temple? They work in conjunction together. So we're stretching this whole area. If you want, assist in the stretch while you're pulling up on that temple. Lengthen that area. It's lengthening the 3/4, the lower part of the face, realigning and kind of lengthening the shortening that just occurs naturally. Okay, now we're going to come in and we're going to place the probes kind of right on the brow. Now I do like I have the 3 because 4 doesn't sit, and I'm just kind of holding in this area. And just kind of like what we did on that jawline, how we kind of flipped it with the airplane move, I'm going to do the same thing. We're holding and going to the side up into the scalp. And do that 2 more times. Going to hold. Kind of switching all the way up into the scalp. We're lifting that eye. All the way to the scalp up. And let's do the other side of the face. So I'm going to start again at the jaw line, kind of holding. Might need to re-wet that side of the face. Holding. And then we're going to do the airplane move, kind of sweeping over and holding. And going down. And going up. And at the side corner of the mouth. And going up. Holding. Now we're going to sandwich those zygomatics. Going right in there. And then we're going to tilt and drag all the way out into the temples, holding. So I think to myself, and I always say it, would I do this if I were doing this alone? I wouldn't. It just makes it so much more fun to watch you guys do it and do it with you. I don't even know if I could watch myself and do it. I would just be like, oh, no. But that's why the challenge is so much fun, because we do get to see one another. We do get to challenge ourselves, to take time for ourselves. And microcurrent really works. That's the darndest thing. It is definitely one of these tools that if you use it, you see the difference in your skin. I mean, you see the difference in your skin, you see the difference in your muscle tone, you see the difference in the refinement. You know, it just works. And I'm about eliminating the fluff. Like I want to do things that work. And I know when I do microcurrent, I definitely look like my best self. You know, when I first started in microcurrent, I worked with a company called The Perfector. One more time. And we used to say, if you come in a 5'4" brunette, you're not going to leave as a 6 foot tall blonde, but we're going to perfect you. And it really perfects your facial features that are meant for you. We're able to release, we're able to build, we're able to tone, we're able to really make your light shine. And that's the most interesting thing about microcurrent, is it just gives your cells the energy to create the most beautiful shine and light of you. And that's what real beauty is when it comes down to it, is how are you reflecting the light and reflecting the light that you have. So let's go ahead and put these probes right into the eyes, and we're kind of holding. And just as we're doing this, we're just kind of letting the circulation go through. And we're dragging it outside to that temple. I just was kind of curious, like, and if you want, you can kind of lengthen as you're pulling up. And let's go back to the center or to in the eye, kind of holding. Again, you might feel like a little stimulation of the sinuses in here, might feel a little drainage. And we're pulling out, going to that temple area. And going out. You know, I don't know if you guys are asking, so I was kind of saying, I just started to go see different surgeons, plastic surgeons, and ask about what kind of facelift would they do on me. And it was really interesting because all of them just had like a canned response. And I'm not saying facelifts are bad, but one doctor I did like his answer, because I just said, where are the scars? He goes, well, they're along here and here. And I go, well, that's the exact scarring of the lymphatic pathway. What happens if they scar, fascial scarring, and, just the intertwining? And he did say that it's a specific level where they cut to eliminate that. But how many times have you seen somebody that has had a facelift that they haven't? And so they become almost like little lollipop heads because of the scar tissue going through the lymphatics. So their skin gets a diffused redness and a puffiness and almost very vascular. And if you're not an informed esthetician or skin therapist, you're going to say, oh, you can do vein therapy. But I mean, we have the capillaries exposed on the face many times due to an impedance or not a normal flow of lymphatics. And so, to go in and blast those veins, now we're eliminating blood flow even more to the face. So as you're working on clients and you see that they've done facelifts and you see the classic telltale signs, you may want to incorporate some of this fascial contouring massage moves to see if you can break up the adhesions along those facial, like facelift scar lines. And if you're a consumer and you have that, there are plenty of videos to show you how to kind of break up some of those adhesions that can impede the flow of lymph. But that's stuff that a lot of consumers don't think about or even know how to ask. And, there are a lot of people doing facelifts that shouldn't be doing facelifts. It's not like, the consumer knows to ask. Sometimes they have facelifts ranging from $6,000 to $160,000. So you really need to do your research. Up all the way. Up all the way. And we're just going to hold along this crown area. I want you just to take the two, and we're just going to hold in the crown. And we're going to go all the way around. Make sure you're not touching the other probes. So I kind of rest my thumb in between and I'm holding. And now I'm going to hold in that crown area. I'm going to hold. And I'm going to hold. And then we're going to go one more and then we'll go to the other side. And then we're just going to finish with the lips. I know we've gone a little bit over our normal time, but it's just our time together. Holding and lifting up. And lifting up. And lifting up. Kind of coming down to that temple area. One last time in the ear. Lifting up. And now let's just work a little bit. The mouth muscle, the buccularis oris, is also the kissing muscle, right? So we're going to go ahead and place right on the top and the bottom. And we can even do all four. Let's just call these the fabulous four, because that's what they are. They're just fabulous. We're just going to hold right in there with the fabulous four. Go ahead and come out to the side here. We're just going to kind of drag, feeling the tension all the way over, out. Now we're going to take these two right into like the little lift ones. I'm just going to lift right in there. And bringing them down, kind of the pouty. Kind of holding. And back up. Lifting. You might even be able to feel it through your gums. You can't do this on your clients, so you can do it on you. Now, last is we're going to kind of go to the corner of the mouth and right at the widow's peak and hold. And to the other side. Now, this is really awesome for people that have lip injections. Because again, we think about the lip injections, right? But you've got, whether it's a cannula or a needle, every time that is going in, it's creating resistance. And so we're forcing blood flow through the lips to nourish that tissue. Your clients will notice less dehydrated lips, less peely lips. If you live in Vegas, your lips are constantly peeling. It's gross. And now come down. And the last one. And if you want, kind of put your lips together. And you can see how it totally plumps your lips in just a natural, sexy way. So maybe I should do a video just on lip plumping with the lift. Well, you guys, I love you. Try to practice this 3 times this week. I know we are going to post later today on all the details with the microcurrent challenge coming in April. It's going to be super fun. So look for a link. If you've signed up for these classes, then we have your email and we'll be emailing something to you. There'll also be a link on Instagram and YouTube. So thanks a lot. And I just really appreciate you all. So I'm going to stop the recording.